Every so often, a sequel to a popular game comes along and immediately gathers up a fan base so strong it's almost astounding. We saw it happen with Hollow Knight Silksong last year, with other developers out there even delaying their own release in order to avoid that one taking over the entire gaming world's discourse for a while. Well, it's happening again in 2026, and it's Slay the Spire 2's early access build that's dominating the charts and its players' hearts this time around. With 177,000 players taking on its unique brand of chaotic roguelike on day one, in itself a considerable feat with Marathon dropping on the same day, you must be wondering what has made it so addictive. Well, we spent a fair bit of time with the game and came away annoyed that we couldn't get to play just one more run before we dropped off. That's of course a sign of an excellent roguelike, and this one's vibe is such that every failed run is merely an excuse to get better and come back stronger, while its mechanics that stay true to the original and the addition of multiplayer co-op are a perfect blend of the original game and new twist to its formula. So let's dive right into why these facets of the experience work as well as they do, and why you should probably clear your schedule before you sit down with this one. Mechanically marvelous. The premise of the game and the way you play it have largely remained the same here, with the developers dropping 3 massive acts to take on in early access. The premise is the same. You climb the spire, taking on monsters and improving your skill before taking on the area's big boss. In a welcome return of one of our favorite parts of the first game, the number of cards you can play is limited only by your energy, which opens up opportunities for some great synergies right off the bat. It even allows for more options between turns, with each hand you're given requiring the ability to improvise on the go. Turn-based titles often have you waiting between turns before you get to execute a strategy, which is often annoying, although we do understand that it's a matter of balancing things out. Slay the Spire 2 leans into the chaos that playing multiple cards in a turn can bring, while still managing to remain quite balanced and even quite challenging even as early as the first act. You soon fall into a pattern of thinking at least a few moves ahead, a tactical undertone to each of your decisions that stays with you long after you finish a combat encounter. What could you have done differently? Was using that specific combination of cards the right thing to do at that moment? If only a card you needed to pull off something spectacular had come along a tad bit sooner. These are all thoughts that come at you quite early on in the experience, and it only gets better from there. Like its predecessor, the cards are quite varied, which work well with both new and returning characters, whose unique abilities add even more ways to use basic ones to great effect in the heat of battle. It's a gameplay loop that doesn't stop tickling your curiosity, and every run feels so unpredictable, with adapting your strategy on the fly being a crucial part of success here. In addition to the game's RNG keeping you on your toes, the ability to select between 2 different world states, each with its own enemies and challenges before each run, adds to that feeling of unpredictability. Slay the Spire 2 might not reinvent the wheel when it comes to the core gameplay, but staying faithful to what made the original do so well is quite a smart move. There's more of it to play even in early access, and more on the way, which is excellent news for the game. It's both familiar enough to be welcoming to veterans and fresh enough to be compelling enough for newcomers. It's honestly hard to put this one down once you pick it up, and you keep thinking about it when you aren't playing it. And there's a solid reason for that: the addition of multiplayer co-op. Multiplayer mayhem. The chance to team up and take on whatever the Spire threw at us is a masterstroke in our opinion. It meant a multitude of potential synergies to find and utilize. That took combat to a whole nother level, as the mayhem was now multiplied alongside the scope for pulling off some truly memorable feats, with successive turns between teammates becoming a matter of carefully considering our available moves and how best to use them. We worried that it could make things too easy going in, but we were wrong. The difficulty is its own subject, more on that soon, but playing as a team didn't make things harder. Instead, it made the game more interesting. We found new ways to use familiar cards, and finding new ones often had us wondering about how they would work with other ones that we had to come in favor of our runs. The multiplayer specific cards were a fine touch, and we can't wait to find more of them and then hash out ways to maximize their utility in the field. We found ourselves having actual conversations about specific cards and their uses outside of the game itself, A facet that takes its value well beyond the time you spend climbing spires to a social bonding activity that can have you spending hours on it. It's the perfect game to play on evenings where there's nothing to do, and is a perfectly valid excuse to blow off other activities in its favor. The Spire beckoned almost constantly, and it was hard not to answer as often as we could over the course of the day. The addition of multiplayer is a great way to take on the game's formula and organically scale it up to a point where its tendency for chaotic runs and intense situations feels like a natural extension of what a solo run entails. They're both equally viable ways to enjoy this game, and that's probably among the reasons it's become so appealing to so many players out there in such a short time frame. But its mechanics and multiplayer are only parts of that success. Stepping stones to success. We now come to what we believe is the most important reason for Spire 2's success. It's difficult enough that you fail runs quite often, summarily dispatch back to the bottom of the Spire before you use all the money and cards you've earned to formulate a better plan of action for your next run. The game's RNG works to make that plan go awry, leaving you to adapt and overcome one hard enemy only to find another that's beyond you, making you rinse and repeat. That's why we mentioned the game's difficulty earlier on. It could be perceived as a frustrating head scratcher that could induce player fatigue early on, but that's actually far from the case. But instead, it works to be energizing, motivating you to think about what went wrong and try to prepare a plan that lets you get past your last obstacle while having enough, hopefully, in your tank to take on new ones. And when your revised plan fails, you simply reinvent and come back for more. It makes each run feel like its own contained story here, set within the framework of the game's overall premise in a way that makes it all entertaining instead of draining. It's a loop of adapting strategies to come out on top, made even better by the fact that you're building on the fly with what you're able to gather up, aside from fixed tools to take with you. It's that spirit of constant innovation, making discovering new strategies a natural part of exploring the world that has given Slay the Spire 2 such a unique and addictive vibe. The early days of a legend. The fact that we've been playing this in an early access build of the game has constantly gnawed at us when we kept playing it, making us wonder about the new content that's on the way. Can the game manage to sustain the momentum it has managed to achieve so far as it shifts and evolves into its final build? We'd of course answer yes. Slay the Spire 2 is addictive because it has been designed to be, with its exploration and combat feeding off of each other to keep you very invested in each and every run. Being sent back to the bottom of a Spire isn't a reason to call it a day after all. It's actually a reason to stay up later than your usual bedtime, and that's of course its biggest strength. But of course, you don't have to believe us, but the 248,000 players who are currently playing it at the time of writing this should tell you that it's one that's definitely worth checking out. Now, excuse us while we join them and take on the unknown yet again in an adventure where each run is like none of the others that came before it. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.